Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
To Henry. Quick snap. Breeze. Pass is incomplete. No flag for Tommy Lee Lewis.
Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Skipper going free to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on the New England.
We have just witnessed arguably the craziest weekend of football, period, this weekend in what was just a crazy divisional round. It had everything you ever want. All 4 games ended on the last play of the game. And so, of course, that means we got a whole lot to talk about because Joe Burrow, he's on the dirt or he's throwing touchdowns. There's no in-between right there. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen still can do their thing. Gabriel Davis, do we need to talk about overtime? Yes, we do. Even though if it's just a little bit because we've already covered it earlier this season. Oh, man, but there's just plenty to talk about between. Take a look at each of the games. We're going to take a look, of course, with buy it or sell it. And then what else but shooting blanks with none other than, of course, our lovely guest, the man that's wearing a beautiful long sleeve t-shirt, which you can find at thefourthlong.com/apparel. He's the man whose team is going to the NFC Championship game, even though their quarterback has not averaged 150 yards a playoff game. He is the man that only drops hot takes, and it's not close. Alex, welcome. Welcome in. Let's do this thing.
First off, I just want to take a couple seconds and publicly apologize for my co-host's defamation of Jimmy Garoppolo's name. He is a winning quarterback. There's actually only one stat in the NFL that matters, and it's the win-loss record, and Jimmy Garoppolo is quite elite in that category, which is the only thing I care about.
He's the most elite.
He's incredible at winning games, which only they need in the playoffs. That's what we do. I heard someone make this comparison, and while I hate, drawing comparisons to these teams, especially a team as boring as those, mid-2000s Giants that beat both teams, but it's a team that is incredible at rushing with 4. Defense wins games and keeps them in the ball game. Their quarterback doesn't have to do much, make a couple plays here and there, and their running game is extremely solid. And that's a lot of what the Niners are based off of, and I am so confident as a Niners fan whenever they line up on the field because, I know that they are going to at least be in the game in the fourth quarter, whether that be up and Jimmy bringing them back or down and Jimmy bringing them forward. So any single situation, I know that the Niners are going to be in play, and especially going into LA where we've already beat them the last 6 times, I am extremely confident. I don't think that we're a slam dunk going to win this game because – it kind of reminds me of the Georgia-Alabama game or the Georgia-Alabama scenario where, can Georgia finally, kill the boogeyman? Can Sean McVay finally beat Kyle Shanahan? This is the venue where it could happen. They've been playing extremely well. They have the horses on defense. They've, just beat us 17-0 in the first 28 minutes of a football game in week 8. We have it in them, but I feel awesome as a Niners fan. It's incredible.
Dude, what a time to be alive for your sake. And just imagine real quick before I hop into things, just imagine if Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have that one guaranteed play a game where he totally just does something incredibly stupid. He would be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's kind of, it's almost stupid. But if you look at wins, Alex, like you said, just about no one in NFL history has done it better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and he has 2 Super Bowl rings to show for it, whether you like it or not.
Jimmy G's just the you want behind center when you're in a playoff game. For some reason or another, everyone just plays better around him, and there's those guys that you can't really put your finger on what makes them special and what makes them a winning quarterback, but Jimmy's got it.
Another thing for the 49ers. Oh my gosh. Nick Bosa. What a year in playoffs this guy has been having. But let's get into things, ladies and gentlemen, because like I already said, we got a bunch to talk about, but before we hop into it properly with the Titans and the Bengals, of course, you can find all of our great content over at thefourthandlong.com or NFL specific. That's at thefourthandlong.com/NFL. You can find all of our shows audio-wise just on the main page there. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, Google Podcasts. We're in a lot of places, so go ahead and follow us, especially hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. And Alex, I do have a very unfortunate announcement, and that is that for views and ultimately for money, because we like those, I have sold my soul to the glorious CCP and made a TikTok, so I'll be posting the clips there too.
Nice. There you go. There you go. Gotta join the wave, friend.
I had to rip the Band-Aid off, but everyone that's been listening to this for a while knows I'll do a lot for views, especially eating the hottest chip in the world. So, we do that kind of stuff here.
Nothing this man will not do to entertain his fans and to just bring joy watching someone else eat a really hot chip. Not much else you could ask for.
Alex, all I can say is you're either laughing with me or more than likely you're laughing at me. But let's hop into things with the Titans versus the Bengals. We saw it was a battle of two teams that never did well in this situation. The Titans, this is their third home game this is their third playoff game as a number 1 seed. They have yet to win. They were 0-2 going into this game. The Bengals in their franchise history have hardly even made to this point, let alone won a playoff game on the road. And so it was which train was going to fix itself first ultimately, and that was the Joe Burrow-led Bengals, because he becomes the first quarterback since Donovan McNabb to win a playoff game even after being sacked 8 or more times. Like I said, this guy's either on the dirt or he was making plays in this game. All right, and they did get a big boost because Ryan Tannehill, it looked like he was wearing the teal and orange of the Miami Dolphins, because 3 interceptions, one of them on the first play of the game, was not great. We'll have some more to say about him a little bit later. But man, what a game this was if you're a Bengals fan.
I mean, I think the way you described it, the game could be better described as, which train was going to break down the slowest, because these teams were atrocious on offense. The only player that Tennessee had that was playing football that game was A.J. Brown. The only time they had any sort of offense is if they threw the ball as far as they could to A.J. Brown, and hopefully he was one-on-one with a defender and could make a play. Julio Jones was non-existent for most of the game. He had 5 or 6 catches for very, very minimal yards.
Yeah.
Nobody in the field showed up. I don't think they targeted a tight end. Derrick Henry was a step slower than what he normally is, and I think we've harped on this a ton. But Derrick Henry is not a good short yardage back. On the 2-point conversion, on any 4th and 1s, or on any of the goal line plays, he takes way too long to get any inertia. If you're running with him and you're not giving him a pitch or giving him some sort of outside carry where he can actually get some momentum and get some inertia, he's not a good player, because people can just come down and chop his legs, which you saw multiple times. And with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they played atrocious. They got sacked 9 times and they still won the game. The only reason that they're still in the playoffs right now is because I think Adam Gase came back to do a guest appearance to coach the Titans for a little bit, and Ryan Tannehill reverted back to his turnover-ridden Dolphin days. But this game was horrible. It wasn't a fun game to watch. The defensive lines dominated. Ryan Tannehill played atrocious. Joe Burrow made a couple plays. Jamar Chase is still amazing. And Evan McPherson was probably the best player in the game.
Or Alex, I'll one-up you. Evan McPherson, to this point, is probably the MVP of the playoffs. Just because this dude has been clutch as hell when the Bengals need them, and I can't really think of necessarily another player off the top of my head right now that has almost single-handedly won their team their game. We remember the first week, Evan McPherson kicked the game-winning field goal, in the super wild card weekend, and now Evan McPherson just kicks nothing but bombs. It's not like it was chip shots either. This rookie has ice in his veins, and he's already getting close to Justin Tucker levels of clutch. Evan McPherson, Super Bowl MVP incoming.
Weeks in, I absolutely love that call.
Oh man, I I would be a fan of that one. But let's hop into the game that you love the most, and kind of like the Bengals-Titans one. If you weren't a Niner fan, this game really wasn't that good, especially on the offensive side of the football. I do your little dance, jeez. But
like watching your future quarterback choke away a playoff game for the 11th time this year.
You know what? He's still an improvement, so it is what it is with that one, Alex. But would you believe it that one of the worst special teams, probably the 31st worst, special teams unit in the league, only ahead of the Denver Broncos? Oh my gosh, I hate that.
Wait, I thought the Packers were just like by far the worst special teams unit in the league.
I don't know. They're right up there, maybe statistically, but play-wise.
The gap between the Packers and the 31st team is the same gap between the 31st and the 10th team in special teams.
They're that bad.
DOA goes. I believe that's the stat. Don't get me wrong. But bottom line, the Packers had an atrocious special teams. They talked about it the whole week moving forward. I don't think it's that hard of a situation to clean up. And the best part about all their special team flaws, you go through it with the Packers. Missed field goal. The block punt for a touchdown, obviously. The kickoff returns to Deebo Samuel. And on the cherry on top, the last play of the game.
Dude!
When you did the block and kick, you have 10 guys on the field. Are you
After
kidding?
a timeout. After
Are
a
you
timeout.
kidding?
You got 10.
If that special teams coach is not fired, then I have no idea how he's got some dirt on the floor for sure.
He
Is he
doesn't
fired?
deserve to be coaching junior peewee football. All right. How?
Like you have to
How?
try to be competent at your job, and just to
It's almost impressive how bad that was and how embarrassing
incredible.
that was.
Yeah, and the best part about it is the Niners had 5 or 6 guys in the Green Bay backfield waiting for the punt to drop. Like, when have you ever seen that amount of backfield of a punt? Like, ever. That just it doesn't happen. But with this game, the Niners had absolutely no business winning this game. We played atrocious. We played as bad as we could possibly play. And I think if you
At least
combine
offensively, the defensive guy gave a little bit of love there.
but the last 6 quarters of offensive football from the 49ers has been some of the worst football I've ever seen. I think they have 0 offensive touchdowns. Maybe not a garbage touchdown. I think they had the Deebo Samuel run in the 3rd quarter against the Dallas team, but they haven't had a touchdown in the last 5 offensive quarters. That's not good. Eli Mitchell does not seem like he's running the same way that he did in the regular season. George Kittle's not getting targeted. Deebo Samuel is
Or he
just
drops it.
He's absolutely. Oh my gosh, those freaking first 2
Back
catches.
to back.
Back to back. It was right in Juwan Jennings' hands, and Kittle was going to run for a mile.
Those hurt me,
I mean, that's like, I think Jimmy's one of those guys where he's such a rhythm player. Those 2 misses in the first half really kind of threw him off the rhythm, and that's his money. That's his money play. You saw it late in the second half too. Is that middle seam, middle arrow route from Deebo, or the middle seam running with Kittle or Juwan Jennings? That's his money throw. He loves throwing it in the middle of the field, and he's got guys that can run after the catch. But I mean, overall, just an extremely gritty win by the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers completely choked it away. He played horrible. He just seemed like he was targeting Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones out of the backfield and no one else. None of the tight ends got looks. Allen Lazard was wide open on the last play, and he was still just absolutely, plastered to Devontae Adams. And they just did not play very well. And we are lucky to get out of that game, obviously, but the Packers didn't deserve that one either.
And that's why he got sent to a place that is no. Well, now Aaron Rodgers think about retiring, or at least it will be a while till he tells us what he's doing. So I really think the best place for him to go at this point is one with a more well-rounded receiving core, and one that is known for sending quarterbacks off with the Super Bowl championship, and that is the Denver Broncos.
Dude, it happened once. What do you
John
mean?
Elway and Peyton Manning. Thank you very much.
But Elway was there the whole time.
Yeah, but he sent him off at the Super Bowl.
I know, but this.
No, shut up. Let me run with my narrative, Alex, because I want hope. I want hope that I don't have to see Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Case Keenum,
Who is it? Who's the
Joe
you know who it is?
Flacco. Joe Flacco. Bortles was there as well.
Kelvin Harmon. Is that who it was?
No.
He was the receiver that played a game against this.
Oh man, I don't know why I'm a bad fan. I'm blanking on his name. I just want someone that is actually known to be a Kendall Hinton.
Kendall. Damn it, nice.
Yep. There we go. Came in clutch before you could Google it.
That's a good Broncos fan right there.
I saw you typing and put the pressure on. It really made the brain work a little bit more. And then talk about going from one legendary quarterback that might retire to apparently another that I didn't even know there were talks about this until Al Michaels and Chris Collins started talking about in the broadcast. Let's talk about the.
Let me correct this real quick. So I'm an avid Bill Simmons listener.
Okay.
I love his content. I actually don't really like Bill that much in his takes, but I love his content because it's exactly what I want to listen to. But he's been on this Brady. This might be his last game for a couple weeks now,
okay.
And he's an Austin fan, so he's been tuned into it. So I'll have to give him a little shout out there for all my BS listeners.
All right, fair enough. I honestly, I didn't hear.
He's been the only one though. He's been the only one that's been on top of this story at all, and it's just like I have a feeling like he's based on no research, no data, anything. He's just like I have a feeling he's gonna leave.
Huh. Well, fair enough. Sometimes you gotta trust the gut. I'm not sure if I like Tom Brady. I don't think I agree with the thought of Tom Brady going out on a loss in a poor performance. This guy is way too damn competitive to end his career on this kind of note. And he led the league in passing yards. All right, this guy still has a Super Bowl in him. I 100% believe that. And so, I really think Tom Brady's going to play until he doesn't think he can win the Super Bowl. And I honestly don't know how much that can be a while. That can really be a while.
Yeah, and especially with that team and the way they're built, is I don't think the Bucs are not going to invest a ton into their talent next year if Brady comes back here. Like this, that's a classic team that's made up of, okay, we don't really care about the future right now. Let's stock it in as much as Brady's playing. And we already have our guy for, moving forward. Kyle Trask is there already, so don't need to worry about drafting a quarterback. And now you're just trying to, set up the offensive line, which is already great, and then try to replace some of these skill guys that clearly they just didn't have the juice come playoff time.
Mm-hmm. And before this game, if we want to talk about itself, the thing I was honing most about when he went down in the Super Wild Card weekend, when Tristan Wirfs went down, I was like, oh no, it's time to sound all the alarms you can. And then especially when they got paired up against the Rams, I think it was announced on Friday that Tristan Wirfs was not going to be playing, or maybe it was Saturday. And when you have a guy like Von Miller, who's been extremely hot the last 5 weeks, lining up against a backup tackle, bad things are going to happen. And that's exactly what happened this game. Von Miller had an incredible amount of pressures. He had, if there wasn't a bad snap by the Rams that followed it, he would have had a super pivotal turnover play. This guy was unbelievable. And, of course, we had playoff Lenny making his appearance well known in his game back. Tom Brady had flashes. It was another one of these similar to that Rams and Niners game at the end of the season where the Rams get out to a big lead. They're looking great, and then they kind of blow it. And then, but luckily this time they were able to pull down in the end. Also, it helped that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not know how to cover Cooper Kupp for some reason.
Did you see what happened on the actual? Did you watch the film on that? It looked like everyone was blitzing, except the safety did not realize that he had to get back onto the deep half. It was completely botched coverage by the safety.
You think the last guy you want to leave wide open is Cooper Kupp?
The middle of the field.
Twice. It happened at least twice.
And it's not even like they were playing cover 2 and he split the safeties. The safety was just too far over to one side. Yeah. He was just one side of the field.
You think you might want whatever side? I know I'm no defensive coordinator, Alex, but whatever side Cooper Kupp, whatever side of the field Cooper Kupp's on, I think I want to put my guys a little bit more lined up to him, right?
And also, let's dispel any of the preconceived notions that Cooper Kupp is one of those Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, slot 50 guys. Dude's got burners, and the dude is elite. Is an elite athlete. Yes. He's got every single tool in the bag. He does have the Wes Welker, Hunter Renfrow type inside routes. He's also got deep elite speed. He's incredible.
He's Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams in one beautiful wide receiver package.
Yeah, incredible. And he's got a coach that's willing to drop any single play, make him open.
And what I loved about the Rams' first drive is that they sent it. They obviously you get Cooper Kupp, and then you bring in Odell Beckham Jr. Then you get it to Everett, and then your Matthew Stafford was spreading the football around, and that is going to be super beneficial.
And he played Cam Akers did not play well. That's something that they need to clean up for sure. But it's not a position where they lack depth. I mean, Sony Michel's their lead back the entire year. They're fine there. Cam Akers is obviously going to have a game where he's going to have to go up with the fumble department. And he's still an athlete, and he still looks like he's fresh, which is incredible. So, and even if you do have little lowered confidence in Cam Akers, he's still your most dynamic back, and they're going to use him, and they have to against the Niners. They didn't have him I guess they had him for a little bit in Week 18, but wasn't obviously to his full potential. So, yeah, that was a game that, the Rams just love to choke away these games. They did it in Week 18. They did it again this week, and if they get up by a touchdown, 2 touchdowns against the Niners this week, they're probably going to do it again. That's what happens.
It's just what happens. And if you're the Niners, of course, we saw Trent Williams having some injury issues during this game when they were playing the Packers. You better hope and pray that this guy is ready to go, because Von Miller and Aaron Donald in just the playoffs alone in 2 games have combined for 24 quarterback pressures.
That's That's just an absolute nightmare.
So what are you going to do? You going to step up in the pocket? No. Aaron Donald's there. Are you going to roll out? No, Von Miller's right there. That is a lethal pass rushing duo that is also great on stopping the run, because Von Miller can make his plays in space on defending the edge.
Incredibly, by the way. I think him and Leonard Floyd right now are the 2 fastest outside edge rushers that we have in the NFL. The way they can get around the horn of the tackles so freaking fast is nuts to me.
Well, it's Von Miller's first step. His first step is freaking lethal. I could tell you, as experience playing offensive tackle, Von Miller a lot of times likes to line up in that wide 9. All right, so we're going to talk a little football talk. So for those that know, the center in the middle of their body is called the 0. On their left, on either shoulder, it's the half. All right, or at least some places it's different. Where I played. Yeah. We in college we did the half, and then on the guard, talking left guard from right shoulder to left, it's the 1, 2, 3 tackle 4, 5, 6. Then tight end, or if there's no one out there, it's still 7, 8, 9, just imaginary. Von Miller lines outside where a tight end would be. He's a whole man away from the tackle, and he could still beat him to the punch to the quarterback. And now I hated when defensive linemen in edge rushers would go out that wide, especially guys talented in my area like Von Miller, where they can beat you just with speed all the way around. You have to get a hell of a kick step your first one. Or they can hit you with that one step because Von Miller's so good, and then hit you with the inside move and go get there and play some games and stunts. It's one of those ones where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because he gives himself so much space, but he can play with that space because he's that damn fast.
And I think the biggest thing, too, is what you're hitting on that, just like the technique side of it, is when you line up those guys outside imagine the tackle, and then another guy outside of him on his line, and outside of that guy is where the defensive ends would line up. When they have that sort of runway and that sort of space to gain speed and to gain momentum towards the quarterback, you're left as an offensive tackle. You're starting stationary. You're the one that's getting attacked. You're the one that is coming. The defender's coming at you. And a good offensive lineman, what do they want to do? They want to get inside. They want to grab your breastplate. They want to control your body and not let you get outside of them. And when you start a guy so far out there that is as athletic, as strong, and as fast as Von Miller,
I think that strength goes overlooked. Von Miller's strength goes overlooked.
Yeah. It's like it's when you have the ability to come at you with speed and then wrong arm to kind of shield off the tackle from cutting that angle, you have no defense for it at all. Like, you saw it multiple times where Von Miller just sprinted around the outside edge, dove at Kyler Murray, and just gets him because it's a straight line to the quarterback, and he gets there every single time.
Oh man, I love this little portion of the show right now because it's been a while since I really got to talk offensive line. And sweet damn, I miss it because that is the best position out there. But it's all about the first kick step, and the hard part is so when they're out that wide, you want to hit more of a vertical kick slide. Normally, with the closer they are, the sharper of an angle you take out to get them. But the problem with offensive line, you got to take a big first step against Von Miller when he's lined up in that 9. But then that opens up the inside. And the only also problem with that is that it opens you up. You're susceptible to blitzes because if offensive line, you got to take the inside. You always take the inside gap because that's the quickest way to the quarterback. Simple stuff there. But you got to get out for Von Miller. So especially a delayed blitz is ridiculous, especially when you got Aaron Donald taking up the center's attention and almost both guards' attention as well. It makes it so hard to block this guy.
If they do any sort of tackle end stunts with Donald and Von Miller, the ability for Aaron Donald to just as fast as you can in there, and then Von Miller coming around the outside, he's got 3 or 4 sacks like that already this year. Just speed. Aaron Donald, you have to spend so much attention on it, and then you just put another elite pass rusher in Von Miller and another above average pass rusher in Leonard Floyd. I would argue because he's a first round pick. He's an elite talent. He's got he's had double-digit sack numbers in the NFL before, and just that combination of those 3, it's wreaking havoc right now when they're all playing in unison, and it's going to be extremely interesting to see what Shanahan does to kind of counteract that type of that type of athleticism. Do you run at him? Do you chip him? Do you keep Kittle out there to block the ends?
Absolutely. I love delayed routes from George Kittle right now, so you can get a chip because he is an elite level blocker. So you use him to block a little bit, and then you get him into a little bit of space. And quick passes are what the 49ers are going to need to do in this game.
Especially with I think that the weakest part of the Rams defense is their linebacking core. And when you have a linebacker that has to either, play one-on-one with Kittle or spy Kittle, they're reading pass block. They're reading just that he's blocking. So some of those younger linebackers, which the Rams have very young middle linebackers, Ernest Jones is extremely young. He took over halfway through the year. When you see that guy, and you saw Devin White do this a lot in the Tampa Bay Bucs game, when you see your guy that you are man-to-man with blocking, a lot of those linebackers, those fast linebackers' tendencies is to just go after the quarterback as fast as you can. And a lot of the times that guy that's blocking, if he releases or if that guy senses that now he's the outlet pass, dude, wide open, especially if they're playing man, you have no response or no way to tackle it at all.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Now I'll decompress because, man, Alex, I gotta say that's the most I've talked about offensive line and blocking. I think this entire season, and dude, offensive line. All right.
Favorite position on the field besides quarterback is the offensive line.
They bailed your ass out a few times in high school. I remember.
Of course they did. I was untouched for most games. It was incredible.
All right. So those who don't know, Alex and I, we did go to the same high school. He was a few classes ahead of me, and so he was a quarterback over there. And that offensive line that you had, it was probably the best offensive line that school is ever had, and you got some monsters.
Josh Davis, rest in peace. Diego Gastelum, studs.
Dude, Porter, the dude that didn't have a neck because his traps were that big.
Yep.
Stud. Yep. Alex had some beasts in front of you.
Our tight end.
Oh, dude, what a time that was. Of course, we had a decent offensive line, but that was the biggest offensive line I've seen in the high school.
They were incredible.
They were putting something in the water, that's for sure. But let's get to the last game and the most exciting game, hands down, of this divisional round, and that was the Chiefs versus Bills. And if you take a look at the win, or like the chance to win percentage, or whatever the hell you want to call it, if you see it, it looks like someone is. It looks like a seismograph from like a 10.0 earthquake. It's just boom, 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 boom. I think there are 5 lead changes in the last 2 minutes of that game alone. It was freaking ridiculous. Maybe it really might be the best football game I've ever watched. Like, that didn't include the Broncos winning the Super Bowl, so take out the bias from there. I honestly might put Chiefs-Rams on Monday Night Football and Chiefs-Bills from this divisional round is some of the best football I've ever seen in my entire life. The only problem is, if you're the Bills, your number one overall defense failed to show up in this game, especially in the last 13 seconds of the game. But Gabriel freaking Davis might have had the best single player performance in the history of the NFL, because 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards, most of this happening in what felt like the last 3 minutes of the game. What a game this was.
I mean, Gabe Davis kind of did this last year too, and I think it was the end of the first half. I want to say it was their second game that they played, where he had like 3 or 4 incredible sideline catches in a row. And I just feel like when it comes down to the one-on-one matchup, Stephon Diggs is awesome. We get it. But when a number 3 guy that goes to Gabe Davis, and Gabe Davis came out of UCF. He was their number 1 receiver, alpha dog, was the guy that went up for contested catches and got every single one-on-one ball. And this is the guy that's now playing one-on-one in the slot against your nickel corner, or playing against a safety, or playing against your second string corner. And he's eating their lunch right now. And him and Josh Allen, for whatever reason, when it gets to the playoff time, they have some sort of connection that it's special to watch. But I think, yeah, you
want
hit
to
it
talk
this
about that
game.
one route where I think it was for a second touchdown, when he didn't just break this defender's ankles. I think he sawed them off and took them home with him to Buffalo. Just because I've almost never seen the guy shaking that bad on just a nice little stutter step. It wasn't anything huge. It was just this nice little move that murdered a grown man.
He's very, very silky with his route running. Underrated.
Well, now he's on the radar, and Stephon Diggs put himself on the radar as a defender because the way he took out that streaker.
That was incredible too. I mean, that's from going last year to seeing that iconic picture of Stephon Diggs, watching the whole Chiefs team celebrate, to now he's got the picture of him decking the street. Got quite the resume building against the Chiefs in the playoffs. He's usually going to give you something to look out for.
Absolutely. And of course, we talked about this. I want to talk, actually, we're going to save our talk for shooting blanks with AK, for when it comes to what should we do with overtime rules? Because obviously, when the game this big, in a game went overtime, there's going to be plenty of questions. I've always said, I've been saying for the whole season now, college overtime rules, but you start on the 50 instead of the 25. I really do think it's that simple, because at the end of the day, it comes to entertainment. This game was by far entertaining. It was absolutely entertaining. But what you want to have been even more entertaining, if we got to see Josh Allen have the football one more time. And a stat, Alex, I want to give you. There's been 10, so I think it was like 10 overtime games since this rule became a thing. 9 of the 10 teams that won the coin toss have won the game.
Was that because they went down and scored a touchdown, or they just
7 of those were because they won the touchdome, because they went down and scored a touchdown.
The other team not getting the ball is way too much in any situation. Now, like I've never been a big fan of just saying, oh, this needs to change, like that needs to go away, without having like an actual tangible way to fix it or solution. But you laid it out. I think that's an incredible solution. You give both teams the chance to go down there and score. You have huge advantages with guys like Justin Tucker and Evan McPherson on your team, because you don't even need a first down to score in overtime. But I think that would be perfect. And we'll touch on it later, but clearly something's wrong. And I think that this game kind of brought to light that these overtime rules, at least in the playoffs, need to change. And I think that something is going to happen from it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. If they change the playoff, I'd rather than change the playoff rules, and then like actually have a change in. If they leave the regular season rules the same, I wouldn't hate it. But when it comes down to playoffs,
I think it's funny to watch those records, and it's always the funniest team, guys.
It's shout out to the Steelers. All right, oh man. But that's going to do it. Take a look. It broke down everything you need to know about these last 4 games. Now, let's move it in to the next thing we got here, because I had the genius. Stroke of genius sometimes just hits you, and it hit me like a freight train in our super wildcard weekend breakdown, and that is the new segment. Well, it's same segment, new name, Shooting Blanks with AK. Because, oh man, I love this one. Because we're actually going to switch up a little bit. We're going to buy or sell at the end because I got some fun stuff we want to talk about. There's some stuff we hinted on in the game breakdowns that I just wanted to get right into. And I know you guys won't mind because it's a great segment. But for those that don't know how this works, I got 3 statements and they have a blank at either the beginning, middle, or end. And it's up to Alex to fill it in with whatever he wants. It could be a word. It could be a paragraph. It could be an essay. It could be just a sound, a simple grunt. And I will accept it. So, statement number 1, Alex, is that the most important play from any game this week was blank.
The coin toss in the Buffalo Bills. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think we brought it up last week a little bit. I personally think those are the best 2 teams in the NFL. That's what we said at the beginning of the year. You know, we either thought it was going to be a Bucs-Chiefs rematch, or I think you were on the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. But those 2 teams are by far the best in the NFL, I believe. I just don't think with those 2 quarterbacks you can go anywhere else with anyone running your offense. Those 2 guys are extremely elite. I can hear the argument for both sides. And whoever got the ball first, especially with the way that the last 4 drives went for that game, was going to win. And it was just that easy. And that was essentially a game-winning coin toss.
You know, especially with the stat that I threw down, you know, the whole 9-1 kind of situation we got going on. Yeah, there's really something to that. We'll touch a little more on the overtime in buy or sell. But statement number 2, blank is the best mobile threat quarterback that we saw in the playoffs this year.
I mean, Josh Allen is the best mobile quarterback. He's probably, honestly, I think Josh Allen is a more dangerous runner than Lamar Jackson is.
I love it.
That's nuts. I get it. But here's the thing. With Lamar, you need space. He doesn't love to run between the tackles anymore. He did it a lot in his first 2 years, but he doesn't do it a lot anymore. He thinks of himself more as a pocket passer. But in these last 4 weeks, Josh Allen has just said, okay, I'm the best running back on the field as well as the best quarterback. And when they run those QB powers, QB sweeps, it seems like it is completely blocked to crap, and he just comes out of nowhere dragging 8 defenders for a first down. It's just what he does right now. He's
a big-ass guy.
You can't tackle him one-on-one. You just can't. And he's also got one of the strongest arms in the NFL. His weaponry is unmatched in the NFL. It's crazy. He's the best mobile threat in the playoffs.
Dude, I got to tell you, I freaking love, and I was tweeting about that. Of course, you can find us at 4th Long Radio on Twitter. I tweet way too much there. But I was talking about that during the game, is especially like on 4th downs, on short yardage plays, it was a little bit overused in certain situations, I do believe. But overall, I love how Brian Dabble uses Josh Allen in the run game. It is great. I love the ballsiness of it. We don't really see it that often. Like, when's the last time we really saw a team run quarterback power consistently?
It's almost like they use him as a wildcat quarterback. It's like they snap him the ball, they give him a ton of different 2-way reads, and he just mashes the ball up the middle. It's crazy to watch.
I freaking love him, man. I just gotta say, oh man, it's good stuff. But statement number 3, the NFL should blank for their new overtime rules. And I will preface this, I'll put it in quotes, a non-traditional rule set.
So I'm going to first say the NFL should outsource for their new OT rules. I don't think that it should be anyone within the NFL office or associated with the NFL making that decision.
Great call.
It should be the everyday fans, the average people that know what an entertaining football game looks like. Have them all sit in a room, bounce ideas off of each other, and something good is going to come out of that.
Thank you, Alex. I am honored for that position. I will humbly accept the position as the new rule maker for the NFL. That's very nice of you.
Specifically the overtime rule maker. You only come into play when overtime comes in, and it's almost like we send our most noble knights to the most noble fights. And you, my friend, have been selected to make this game-changing decision for the rest of overtime. And let's preface this: playoff overtime. Honestly, keep the overtime rules in the regular season. That's totally fine. For playoffs, it needs to be different. They already changed the overtime rules for the playoffs, so it's clearly, it's been a precedent to set to monitor or alter from regular season to the playoffs. So I honestly don't have a great idea that's better than your 50-yard line idea. I think that's perfect. Going back and forth from the 50s seems like the only logical way to decide who's better that day. It gives you the chance to your defense to step up, your special teams to step up, your offense to step up. Both teams get a chance for it. It just seems like it's the better team is going to win out in that situation more often, and that's all that you want from overtime.
You know what? In terms of, I'm so bummed that we never got this. We got really close, but when the XFL came back in 2020, their overtime rules were as a 2-point conversion shootout.
Yep.
I want to see that in action. All right. But Alex, hear me out. Here
Okay.
is how we settle overtime at any time of the year. All right. We take the opposing strength and conditioning coaches. All right. And we put a bench on the 50-yard line in the middle of the field, put 225 pounds on that sumbitch, and we have a bench off. And whoever benches the most reps wins the game for their team.
I honestly think that that's the only logical way to do it too, because it really puts a value on that support staff, and all of a sudden, most important player or staff member on your team is a strength and conditioning coach, which I think has a good trickle down effect for the entire team.
And you all know which college coach is going to be making a crap ton of money if this rule is made?
The guy from Northwestern.
Yes, sir.
Incredible. I think what's his name, Alex?
Yeah, he is a monster.
He's incredible.
I love him. I love him so much.
Why did I know exactly who you're talking about? Because he's a monster.
Well, it's because we're on the same wavelength too. Or I'd like to submit a secondary idea, still with the strength and conditioning coaches, but you put some 10-ounce boxing gloves on those guys and let them go to work.
Man, that's another way to do it. But
Alex, one man enters the logo, one man leaves, one team wins.
How about instead of that, you just take the 2 heaviest players from each team and do the same thing? Maybe a
sumo wrestling.
That could be it.
Hey,
that could be when Vince Wilfork comes out of retirement.
You want to know who would have been the best sumo wrestler of all time?
Refrigerator Perry.
Larry Allen.
Oh, well, okay. There you go. Offensive lineman.
Yes, sir. We got a theme going on this show. Offensive line, baby. Dude, I like the sumo off. They used to have that event in World's Strongest Man in like the 80s, I think.
You big a World's Strongest Man historian or something?
No, but I'm a fan of the sport. Shout out to Brian Shaw, the greatest athlete in the world, the strongest man to ever exist. A tank that is 6'10", 430 pounds, and can pull airplane cargo in pulls kind of planes that Alex, your brother, flies. Big old C-130s, and he just kind of walks with that on his back.
He does. Just no big deal.
We have our morning walks. He has his morning C-130 pulls. It's not the same.
No.
Jeez, what a specimen that is. But drop us your overtime rules and what you guys would like to see, whether it be traditional, I would love that, whether it be non-traditional. If you guys could top me, I will do something. I will not guarantee anything right now because
shout out on the show. The best idea that we get between now and the next show, we'll get a shout out and a personal compliment from yours truly.
Well, because that means more than anything in the world. Absolutely.
But you know how many compliments I give out? Very little.
Right? I've only complimented like a few people, but is what it is. So, especially honor from you, Alex, really does mean everything to anyone. But that's Shooting It Up with Alex. Shooting Blanks with AK. Let us know your thoughts on all of that one. Whether you drop in the comments on YouTube, Rumble, hit us up on our socials on Twitter or Instagram, or best of all, leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. And we're going to roll in to the second to last segment of the show, and it's time to get out your wallets. It's time to get out those credit cards. If you still, for whatever reason, carry a checkbook, for one thing, get with the times. For a second, get it out, because it's time to buy or sell. Alex, let's get this sucker in, because, for those who don't know, got another 3 statements on this one, and it's up to Alex of whether he's going to buy it or sell it. And statement number 1 is that the Cincinnati Bengals cannot go any further with this offensive line.
I'm going to completely sell this statement because I think we just saw that they could get sacked 9 times and still win a game. So honestly, like that's the lowest of the low for any offensive line. I don't think the Bengals, or I don't think the Chiefs have a great defensive line minus Chris Jones. Mm-hmm. So, and we talked a little bit about it last week, but the Titans are extremely good at getting pressure with 4. Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons. These guys are very, very good pass rushers, and they showed that. They blitzed with, or they rushed with 4 a lot. They got home. The Bengals offensive line didn't hold up just as we imagined, and they still won the game. So I'm not going to put anything past this Bengals team. They kind of have the little bit of the smell that the Niners team has on it, just figuring out ways to win the game. So I don't think it's like their O-line just played the worst it possibly could, and they still won the game. So I'm not putting anything past them.
That's a freaking ridiculous statement to make. And all I know is that the Bengals, your first round, your second round, your third round pick, all have to go to offensive linemen this year. Because you're a complete team. If you shirk the offensive line, if Joe Burrow was on the ground 9 times that game, they rout the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. That honestly, like they were sacked 9 times. That's almost like 10-15% of your plays on the day are sacks.
It felt like every third down as well.
Yeah, it's drive killers, negative plays, havoc plays, chaos. That's what defenses want to do, and you allowed them to do that 9 times. And that's not counting any of the holding plays that prevented sacks that could have been into double digits. So, yeah.
Exactly right there. Statement number 2, going back to that Niners and Packers game, Aaron Rodgers has played his last games in the green and yellow uniforms.
I'm going to buy it because I honestly don't know how he goes back to Green Bay. It seems like everyone in their fan bases were kind of dunking on him, and they just it seems like it's time for a natural break. Aaron Rodgers has run his course. He's not someone that you can just tolerate for that long. He's kind of just a difficult human being to have in your life for that long. Kind of seems like that guy like just wears down at you. Like, okay, like here's Aaron again. Like he's gonna try to say something clever, and he's like thinks he's way like too cool for school, and that's just kind of his vibe, right?
It's not like a Niner fan.
Well, I mean, honestly, like there's nothing that Aaron Rodgers or Green Bay can do to the Niners. They are horrible.
0-4 in the playoffs, the worst winning percentage against one team in the career in playoff history.
And Aaron Rodgers I don't know the stats at all, but Aaron Rodgers has to be one of the worst quarterbacks in the playoffs at home in NFL history. The amount in a top seed and lost at home is ridiculous. It happened the last 3 to 4 years, and you can't say anything but Aaron Rodgers does not play well in the playoffs.
Yeah, fair enough. And with that one and bonus points, where's he going to end up?
Dude, I honestly I think he ends up somewhere like.
Does he play first of all, or does he retire?
Yeah, he definitely plays next year. He's honestly, I don't think he's gonna let the media and the critics win one on him. So he's gonna have to come back for another year. I think the Broncos are clearly in play. I think the Eagles are in play. I think the Washington football team is in play, and I think the Browns are in play. And I think one of those 4 teams has a really good shot at getting him, but he definitely plays next year. I just don't think it's with the Green Bay Packers.
And we'll see about Denver. They did host Nathaniel Hackett for 9 hours in Denver on Tuesday.
Can you show like a little more desperation?
No, yeah. Do you
Go
really?
Shailene Woodley as a strength and conditioning coach. Might be good.
Yeah, pretty much. But statement number 3. The Tennessee Titans have reached their ceiling with Ryan Tannehill as quarterback.
I'm going to sell the statement. I think he had a bad game. He's already proven and shown that he can go into a hostile environment in the playoffs and win. During the regular season, the four remaining teams the three remaining teams that were left in the AFC, they beat all of them in the playoffs or in the regular season. Mm-hmm. So the Titans did not play well on Saturday. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. They played horrible. Tannehill's first pass of the game was intercepted. Not a good sign for him. I think they can kind of lean back and say, didn't have a healthy Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. Ryan Tannehill played horribly bad. Their defense played great. Their defensive line is something that you can build on, and it's going to give you an extremely high floor as a team because that defensive line is just dominant. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best players in the NFL, and he does not get enough credit. But, first off, I don't think the Titans have another option. Ryan Tannehill is a guy that, unless you have a Rodgers, a Watson, or a Russell Wilson to replace him, you're just not going to replace him. Mm-hmm. He's a middle to above average quarterback, and that's fine for this Titans team. So I'm going to sell that statement.
I would put him in the above average category right there. But if you take a look at his career stats when it comes to playoffs, he is now 2-3 in the playoffs. He was 2-1 in 2019, and that's when. Oh man, they really blew that one to the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't they? But at least we got to see Mike Vrabel keep his manhood because we all know what was on the line for that game. Man, right? And he's now seven touchdowns, 5 interceptions. In that he was really good 2019. He had 5 touchdowns to 1 interception for the 1.7 interception percentage. This playoffs, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. That is not great numbers. And honestly, I don't know if he had the best receiving core in this. If I'm the Titans, I wish that I probably wouldn't have traded for Julio Jones. Probably.
They should have just kept Johnny is what they should have done.
Yeah. They should have. They really should have.
Julio. Because with A.J. Brown, you don't need another alpha dominant receiver. Like, you have that guy. You have your outside X receiver. You need
I even keep Corey Davis, too. I would just kept it the same.
Yeah, probably kept it rolling, right?
They probably win. They probably beat the Bengals if they have those guys.
Well, I mean, if you replace Anthony Ferkser and Julio Jones with Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, I think you have a much better shot. I
do too, and I really don't think that's a hot take right there. Just because, man, it was disappointing in Julio. I know there's a lot of people still hot on him. I didn't really care about this trade one bit. I didn't think it was really going to do anything beneficial. Obviously, it was hurt by the fact that he was hurt and he missed a decent chunk of time this season. But even if he did play all 17 games, his best years are clearly behind him. So I didn't think this was a great acquisition to begin with. And then you saw what happened this season.
He also just, I don't know if it's the number 2, but he just looked significantly smaller out there. Like, he didn't look like.
It was the 2.
He didn't look like Julio out there. He just looked like kind of small and just like, is that Chester Rogers running around there? But really, it's Julio Jones. Like, this guy was like the prototypical outside X receiver for 10 years in this league. And now he's kind of been, resolved to the guy who runs crossing routes. It almost reminds me of Odell in Cleveland, just like kind of getting the ball because you need to get him the ball at some point. He's not really creating separation. He's not getting down the field. Like, when's the last time you saw Julio Jones run a 9 route and actually get the ball? Never. Like, I don't think that happened this year.
Yeah. I don't know if that's Ryan Tannehill's fault. I wouldn't say so, just because Ryan Tannehill and Matt Ryan are very comparable quarterbacks. In terms of output, in terms of like just how throughout their careers they've consistently been, or they're really known as a above average quarterback, but not great. But they're not going to lose you games. It's almost like a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, I would say.
But in that same category.
Oh yeah. I would group all those guys in the same category, and honestly, I think that's the category that Mac Jones is going to end up in as well.
Yeah, agreed, 100% agree.
Which isn't a bad category. Like, I don't think that's an insult.
Kirk Cousins.
And Baker Mayfield needs to hope that he could get into that category.
He better hope that he's in that category and not the Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater category.
Oh, that's a bad category.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think anyone wants to be in that category.
There's red flags.
There are red flags everywhere with that one. Oh, that would not be good. But that's going to do for our buy or sell segment. Of course, if you guys have any thoughts on this one, drop it, like I said, over comments on YouTube, Rumble, hit us up on our socials, or best of all, leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. But we're going to cap this show off.
Let us know. I'm really actually curious. All the listeners out there, let us know where you think Aaron Rodgers is going. Is he going to stay in Green Bay? Is he going to the Broncos? Is he going somewhere else? Is it a random team? Is he going to go be the Jeopardy host? Is he going to go on a retreat to a Tibetan monastery? What is he going to do next year? Let us know. And you'll probably be wrong, but so is everyone else.
And unless you're me. You bet your ass I'll be posting all about that stuff this whole offseason as well, because it's going to be a while until we get an answer from Aaron Rodgers, and he said probably going to even drag on to free agency. Yeah. So we're going to see him. For Tom Brady, it's going to be at least another week. So, man, we're about to find out all of this. But, ladies and gentlemen, like I was going to say, the one way where we kept this, the only way we know how to cop off a show is with the nay of the week. And, okay. I am jealous of you audio listeners at this point, so you didn't have to see what Alex just did. It was pretty white. I'll just...
I mean, it was a little bit like my 49ers dance earlier. I mean, you can't really say anything about it because we're in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, you're right. The Broncos, in their glory, they've never made an NFC Championship, so I can't talk.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to do that. Really tough to do that.
Especially, right? And shout out to the Niners. They're playing their 17th NFC Championship game as a franchise, and the second most is the Cowboys with, I think it was 14. But also, the Cowboys haven't been in one since 1995.
I don't think we count anything post 2000 anymore. So they're at 0, unfortunately.
I'm okay with that.
and tied with the Broncos for NFC Championship appearances.
Oh, you're right. Damn it, man. When are the Broncos going? What about? Tell me when the Niners have last won made the AFC Championship game. All right.
I mean, you can't flip it back on me now. I think that kind of defeats it.
That's just a rehash. No one likes to rehash.
Yeah, there's time and place for it, but not on this podcast. Not today.
Absolutely not. But you want to know what there is time for? There's time to give out the award for the person, thing, universe, object, whatever the hell I want to give it to, that got nay-nayed the hardest this week. And it's going to be very specific. It is going to be... It's a running theme, this one, but I still think it's the funniest part. It's going to be the head side of the tail side of the coin that they use in overtime, because that thing hit the ground hard and it never got to shine in front of the tens of thousands of people in that stadium. It was overlooked. It was overplayed. And tails does, in fact, fails.
I mean, the tails had a chance to really kind of come through for the entire city of Buffalo, and it folded. I mean, it's just like when a dog knows they did something wrong, they tuck their tail between their legs. That's what tails did. They folded in overtime.
Oh, a tails pun. Hell yes.
Ridiculous.
Oh, well, it's a tails pun because we're at the tail end of our show, and it's time to tail off. Because, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into our divisional round recap. I hope it was at least half as good as the entertainment value that this weekend provided, because that would make it amazing. But, of course, you can find all of our stuff at thefourthandlong.com. Stream the audio directly from the site. Or, of course, for video, you can find us on Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify. Spotify has video. You can catch us also on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast from. And... the really great stuff, you could see it right now. A little bit of an older shirt right now, but everyone loves a good throwback. You got the throwback 4th and long. Alex wearing the long sleeve 4th and long, looking good. Oh, look at those arms. Okay.
Don't worry, it's still winter season out there. You need to be a little bit warmer in the apartments and the house. You got to keep the long sleeve on.
Especially if you're like me, you're a cheap ass and you don't like turning on the heat even though it's 20 degrees outside. So you need the layers, you need the length. You can find that very reasonably priced, and also it just fits well. It's a nice quality shirt and you can find that all at thefourthandlong.com/apparel. Same place where you can pre-order your trucker hats, which I said still going strong. You can still buy them now, pre-order now, and $5 goes to a charity of your choice. But Alex, to sum up the divisional round in one word or phrase, have at it.
I hope the rest of the playoffs can amount to half as good as we had it last weekend. I really do.
Yeah, fair enough, man. 3 more games and 3 names to list before we cap off. Of course, shout out to our fantastic Patreon supporters. You become one for just $1 a month over at patreon.com/fourthandlong. Get behind the scenes content, bonus access to everything. You get discounts and all that great stuff. And you get shout out because shout out to our biggest donor, Ray Rodriguez, for all your card collecting needs. Going over to Instagram, follow at the Big Bat Box. Also, catch us every other Friday, including this Friday, for episode 5 of Card Stonks. And like I said, we're going vintage this week, baby, so you won't want to miss out. Shout out to Ryan Watson and Neil Wiley. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. And we're going to see you once the Super Bowl matchup has been decided. More importantly, on the road to the Pro Bowl. We'll see you guys next week.